Hey Paisanos, it's me, Hamish Steele, and welcome to another Super Mario moment. And today we are going back to the almost start, as we are going to cover Mario Bros. Not Super Mario Bros, just regular Mario Bros. We are talking about the arcade classic released in 1983 for the arcade and the Atari and the Famicom. It was later ported to the NES in 1986 and has been remade and reimagined various times as mini games, its own little features in many subsequent titles. And joining me for this very special episode, we have a very special guest. He is a actor, a comedian, a writer. You have probably seen him in NBC's Superstore or Dropout TV, or as the original actor who played Scarlett Johansson. I am joined by the incredible, the wonderful, the talented Chris Grace.
Hello, Hamish. So
Way.
excited to be here.
Well, thank you very much. You are a rare guest who came into my DMs to ask to be part of this.
That's
Usually
right.
I'm like, oh my God, that person posted a picture of Princess Daisy. I wonder if they're available.
I slid into your DMs like a turtle sliding. Not in this game that we're going to talk about. There's no turtle
No.
sliding in this game.
Well, thank you very much. It's lovely to have you on. And I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but how would you describe yourself?
I'm an actor and a comedian. These days I've mostly been doing stand-up and fringe type shows, and I'd pop into a TV show every now and then when they allow me into the industry.
Um, you are a famous person. When we were last hanging out, we had, was it multiple people? I don't know. We had someone stop you and say, "Oh my God, I know you."
We had, I think, one of the staff at Dishoom
Oh yeah,
was enamored with my
and
character.
Bridge Command.
Oh
We did
yes, it was
that.
at Bridge Command. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. The person who gave us our flight suits,
Hmm.
which were mine was much more confusing to don than yours.
Yeah. Sort of shout out to Bridge Command.
Yeah,
It is fun.
I think if I lived in London, I would think about going to Bridge Command more than once. In a way, it's sort of a gateway to playing that open source software that they
mm,
use. It's like it's like when people play Microsoft Flight Simulator and then they buy a full cockpit for their house. Bridge Command is
yes.
sort of that for that software.
Yeah, it's like part escape room, part LARP, but kind of lower. I don't mean lower effort on their point, but lower effort on your point. There's little
Well, you put out a lot of effort.
I was in character, okay? I I was very determined. I was in character from the bar onwards. There was
Yes.
like a reference. Someone offhand mentioned like the president of the Galactic Federation. I was like, well, I didn't
Yeah.
vote for him. And from
Well,
then
you
on,
you stopped responding to Hamish. You only responded to Gleeklorp from that point on.
yes. And one day I'll find out what ensign means. But I was, yeah, it was fun. But you when you last were over, I also saw your incredible one-man show Sardines, and I urge anyone, if you are taking this show to a city that you are in, to check it out, because I was just saying before we went live that it's one of those shows that kind of changes your life a little bit, and I mean that in a good way. um, and yeah, would you like to take a moment to talk about it?
Yeah, it's a show that I put together that's basically walking you through a bunch of people that died in my life and me trying to be funny about it, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I'm doing it in Wisconsin in February, and then doing it in New York at the New York Theater Workshop next May and June. And I was like, I'd probably do it again at Fringe. It's a
Hmm.
pretty easy show to tour, and it's a kind of like if I tell you more about the subject matter, you'll probably be like, I don't want to see that, but it's very funny. Um, and
It
yeah, I'm really enjoying doing it.
Yeah, I think also a little bit of less, the better, in terms of, audience enjoyment. And uh, I also think that when it's a very personal show, and when you find out the things that you've been through, it's like you have to make some art out of that. And I think
Yeah.
it's like very inspiring as a way that you can create something.
Yeah, I feel a little responsibility to the people in my life. If I position myself relative to the world as somebody that's like making art,
Mm,
then it seems almost like a dereliction of my responsibilities to not do something with the stuff that happened to me.
yeah.
Um, Although I didn't for a long time, and I think for a while I thought I didn't know how to approach it. And I don't know. The only thing I can say for a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people that watch this are also artists. It's like, unfortunately, you probably just have to try and, you know, the main overarching lesson I've learned from these last two solo shows that I did is that when it's living in your head, it's it's much more perfect, but also can't be worked with in any way.
Mm,
So you can't like it's. I know it's a cliche, but the first draft of these things, when they're in your head, they're so perfect, and then you put them on paper, and they're just not, and it's so annoying. Um,
mm.
and you often cannot figure out the direction of the thing. You can't calculate it, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah. And I guess with the subject matter, you kind of don't quite know if it's going to sound as funny to other people as it does in
yeah,
your head until you say it out loud. And
and
uh
also, I many parts of my life I have said things that I thought were funny to me, and people just stare at me. So.
well, that is relatable. I've just finished my I was just saying I just finished my level 4 of improv school, so obviously I'm an expert and I know everything now. But no, I find that the real challenge is not learning how to be funny, but kind of learning how to ground your um comedy and your funniness.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a great show.
I will give a tip to people taking improv.
Mhm.
Not you, Hamish. You're an expert. Um,
I need the tip. I'm doing my like exam show next week, so
my tip to new people is always like if you have a partner or a spouse, you have some way that you are funny to them
mm,
that is very specific and silly and vulnerable. And the more you can bring that to the stage, the way that you are funny with people when you completely trust them and all your defenses are down, if you can project that same vulnerability to being in front of an audience, the audience will love you for it. They
mhm,
will respond to that intimacy as if they were your spouse,
yeah,
because it's like a unconscious putting trust into them, right? And
mm,
that's why I always think is interesting because that's when we figure out like the most individual parts of people is that specific way of expressing themselves when they're behind closed doors. And the bravery is like being willing to do that in front of strangers.
mm. That's very good advice
Yep.
for all manner of things. Um, to do a literal hardest pivot ever. Um, what is your relationship with video games? Your history with them?
I've had a long, I think my history of video games is also the history of video games.
Mm.
So because the first video game I had was a Radio Shack. I don't know, y'all have never had Radio Shack, right?
I
Uh,
know what it is because of the movie Captain Marvel. I
Whoa.
think I think she crash lands into one. I know there's a
Ah, okay.
blockbuster, but I think she like goes to a I don't know. I remember and I it's like a phrase I've heard, but this is more of a British
Yeah.
thing than a
By the way, Radio Shack was just this beautiful concept in America, which was these stores where you could sort of just get whatever electronics you needed. And
mm.
back in the day, it was a wall of incomprehensible, like, here's a little PCB board and here's a little transistor,
Mm.
just a wall of things you could buy, and then whole shelves and shelves of batteries. And then they would have some consumer electronics as well. And then eventually they pivoted into like trying to sell cell phones and stuff like that. And then they became boring and they went out of business. But uh, they created a Pong knockoff machine that was the game Pong inside of its own controller that could connect to your TV, and then
Mm,
supplemental paddle on a long cable to the player two.
mm,
And so I played Pong. So I mean, like it wasn't like the original Pong, obviously, but like that's when I started playing video games. And then I
mm.
got an Atari 2600, which had combat on it. I played a lot of Atari. And then I also coveted an Intellivision. I coveted a ColecoVision. Uh, I probably had. I never owned personally an NES or a Super NES. I think the next console that I personally owned was a Dreamcast, a Sega Dreamcast.
Dreamcast is
Um,
a popular console on the show.
Yeah. So probably for most of your guests, it's like the thing they had as kids. For me, it was like my first like adult purchase. And this will take people like I don't think anybody will remember this, but in New York City, for about 8 months, there were two competing .com companies in 1999. One was called Urban Fetch, and the other one was called Cosmo, Kozmo. I think it was called Cosmo.
Mm.
These were the original we will deliver something to you in 4 hours companies, and they would deliver like a Ben and Jerry's, like 1 pint of Ben and Jerry's to you.
Wow.
On September 9th, 1999, they were willing to deliver a Sega Dreamcast to you, and that's when I bought Sega Dreamcast, was through like urbanfetch.com. By the
Wow.
way, like completely unworkable business model. Uh, they specifically would not allow you to tip the delivery drivers. Both of those companies went out of business. Um, but that's why I had a Dreamcast. And the funny thing is, like years later, when I was moving, I ended up putting that Dreamcast just like out on the street because nobody wanted it. On eBay, nobody wanted it. And now, if I had kept that, I could. It's worth money now, which it's not. It wasn't at the
Yeah,
time.
but that's a dangerous move because then you start thinking about that about everything you own, and
I
you
mean,
end up with yeah.
I just went on the Pop Mart app on my phone and I ordered two Labubus. So you know, I'm
um,
sure that's my retirement. Those two Labubus.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah,
played since then. I played a lot of games on when I was on a Mac. I've owned several PCs over the years. I've played video games my whole life. I would actually say in the last 2 years has been the most that I've sort of fallen off of like AAA games,
yeah.
because I think because of the value proposition these days, it's like this AAA game has to take 150 hours to play, and I'm happy to play Balatro.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your current relationship is with gaming because I think one of the reasons I do a Mario podcast is that as I grow older, I play more old games.
Yeah,
Um, and I spend a lot of my time like catching up with games. I'm currently playing loads of like Dragon Quest and stuff, but
yeah,
also just the kind of pick up and play nature. And the thing with Balatro, but like these roguelike games is that that's basically just an arcade game. Like
yeah,
and that's what I also grew up with. I had an NES, so I played a lot of games where you didn't have like save files and stuff growing up. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think the last ones that I've gotten into are like Balatro. I played a lot of that UFO 50 game,
Yeah, I
which
like
I
that
really
too.
loved.
That was
And
fun.
those are like little arcade games as well.
Mm.
I always go in and out of playing Dota 2, which
Mhm.
is, in my opinion, the greatest video game that's ever been created, and absolutely the worst, most toxic experience. Like it just
Mhm.
leaves you feeling completely awful playing it. But the game itself is so good. It's funny because recently I've been playing a board game called Innovation, and
Mm.
I've like, oh, this feels like Dota 2. This game is so cool. Playing it with people is awful.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about board games because that's your main passion at the moment,
Yeah,
and it's weirdly it's kind of where Nintendo, where its origins are. They were a lot
they
of these
were card games, right?
Yeah, like a lot of these gaming companies are tech companies that decide to make games, whereas I think something that you can still see in all of Nintendo's decisions is that they're a toy company and a board game company.
Yeah.
Um, this is not a gassing up Nintendo podcast nonstop. You can criticize them; they do a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, tell me about board games.
Uh, I have always like dabbled with board games, and then you can even look back during the pandemic that I bought a bunch of board games during the pandemic, but I never got hooked by it. So like I have a copy of Wingspan that I bought during the pandemic, and I didn't play Wingspan until about a month ago. Um,
Mm.
and then what happened was about 2 years ago, I got into a social deduction game called Blood on the Clock Tower, which is like not even really a tabletop board game. It's people sitting in a circle. Um, and then tangentially, I was invited to a convention called Dice Tower West earlier this year. Like it's crazy that it's only in April of this year that I went, and I was a storyteller, a clock tower storyteller at that. And but that's a full board game convention. So in my off time, I would go walk the board game floor, and there are a bunch of demos and stuff like that. And I got a game demoed by a few people.
Mm.
My friend Jorge from Bakersfield, California, is a big board gamer, and he said like, let's go walk around. And something I think about the spirit of him being like, yeah, let's try that. Let's sit down and try this game. Let's try this game. Um, I got hooked again, and since April, like we're recording this in November, it's only been 5 months. But the number of board games that I have purchased since then, like even behind me right now,
Yeah, I
is
saw them before we
this is
started.
this is the incredible board game. Sorry, Invincible, the card game,
Oh,
just
nice.
just came out, and which I've been playing all weekend. And then I ran Clock Tower for Halloween at a local board game cafe here in Boston, and they gave me two starter decks for Riftbound, which is the League of Legends
Oh, sweet.
TCG. So anyway, I've really fallen into it. I started a YouTube channel called Noobs at the Game Table, talking about board games, and like I
Mhm.
started to get a tiny bit of free stuff because I'm mildly famous, and of course that has hooked me now.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I've been put on some kind of Doctor Who influencer
ooh,
list, which is kind of fun. But I keep being sent books that I've already bought
I
because I was
know.
like, so now I'm like, okay, so do I not buy stuff?
I know. So I'm really good friends with Becca Scott, who runs a company called Good Time Society. And
Mm,
she's also often the face of when you watch a video on how to play a board game, it's often Becca showing you how to
mm,
do it. And she has a studio in Los Angeles that I've played games at. And I have access to like a lot of the games that they get. And I walked into their studio about 4 months ago, and I went into this room where they're like, "Yeah, just play any of these games." And it was like I was like, I spent like $900 on the games in this room. I could have just borrowed them from Becca instead.
mm.
But
Yeah, I'm hoping at some point I get put on some kind of Mario influencer
oh my gosh.
list. There's currently a Nintendo pop-up store in London, and the queues are insane. And I'm like, hi, want me to be there for media?
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well,
but
have you stayed connected with like the most recent Mario games? Because for me, sometimes they feel like so gigantic that
yes,
I
so
haven't.
yeah, I am. I mean, again, one of the reasons I started this podcast was the uh I don't really drop my special interests really, and this has been a lifelong passion. And I know it's very like it's the most popular video game in the world. It's not exactly like a niche interest, but I do think I sometimes enjoy it in a slightly niche way. It's like everyone on the planet has played Mario Kart, and I'm like, and it's one of the things I found interesting about your initial DM to be on the show is you were asking about the like deeper cut stuff.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I'm a real like Mario wiki sort of obsessive. And so yeah, I've played the most recent games. I've played the game we're talking about today. Sometimes on, original consoles and cabinets and stuff.
Mm.
And it can be a lot. Um, it does mean that, not all these games are good, but I do try and play them all. Um, but yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what you requested,
Yeah.
because we're going with Mario Brothers because I thought it would be a really good place to start. the rest of the season, we're actually covering a lot of the very early games. But one of the other games you suggested talking about was Virtual Boy Mario Tennis.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask about that? Because I've actually never played a Virtual Boy, and
What?
they're releasing a kind of they're putting all the games on the Switch too, and then releasing like the peripheral. So they're basically re-releasing the Virtual Boy, which is
Okay.
like a very funny business decision.
So yeah, so you could play it in its original sort of form, quasi, sort of.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't own any of these systems, right? So like I
Mm,
would go to my friend Tim McAllister's or my friend Matt Phelps, and we would play NES. We played like, you know, the boxing game and Punch Out, and then we played
mhm,
like the wrestling game. Uh, so later, I would always rent Nintendo systems from Blockbuster Video, and you'd
mm.
get to rent them for like 48 hours. Like I feel like at the beginning, like eventually these rental companies were like, you can have it for 3 days or a week or whatever. But originally it was like 24 hours to have something, right? But I rented a Virtual Boy, and my memory is that the thing was so heavy you couldn't like wear it on your head. It had a little stand, and
Yeah, you have to
you
like
had to
sit at a desk.
yeah, you had to go like this. But I have loved every tennis video game that I've ever played. I love all the tennis
Mm.
video games. So that includes back on the Commodore 64. Forgot to mention that as my video game history. Uh, On court tennis I played, and then I played. I think there was some tennis on Nintendo. I've played the arcade one.
Did you have Virtua Tennis for the
Yes,
Dreamcast?
I have played. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
virtual
yeah.
tennis. And then I had one on the Game Boy that I played. Uh,
There's a really good Mario Tennis Game Boy game that has like an RPG
yeah,
like on the side, and barely features Mario characters. It's basically just like a
yeah.
tennis RPG, but sometimes Luigi shows up.
I
Um,
think I love these tennis games because essentially, like every single tennis game has been the exact same game.
yeah.
It's like there isn't much for them to think about and like a lot of these tennis games at one point were like they would even like move your character automatically to where the ball was going. Now it's not so
Mm,
much, but that was a thing. But basically they're all like one button hits a flat shot, one button hits a topspin shot, one button hits a slice, and one button hits a lob. And as a player you end up just going like, what is the most extreme angle that I could hit a ball at? And
mm.
so like my history with tennis games is I know within 10 to 20 plays that I can get to a point where I can like beat the game. Um,
I have sorry, this is just like this is my experience too. Um, I mean, I was playing a Mario Tennis game, but I got to a point where I was in this kind of like WhatsApp group where we played games together, and we used to do like a Mario Kart tournament, whatever. We did a Mario Tennis tournament, and I didn't know how to not win matches. I was just like, these are the buttons you press, and like so I was just winning, and everyone was getting annoyed, and so I sort of won by default because everyone was just like annoyed.
I think the hardest one for me was like Wii tennis is a little
Yeah.
bit different. Oh, but about the Virtual Boy, I will say that I hope you get to play the real device because
Mm,
so also going back in my history of video games, I always had a love for vector graphics. So
mhm,
like the original Vectrex, which is an incredible system that I would only play like at a I don't know what the equivalent is for y'all, but like a Sears department store would have a Vectrex available, and I would go to the mall and play this game. And Virtual Boy is red vector graphics, and there's actually something really pleasing about the red palette of that system, I think. Virtual Boy's a little harder though because you have a little bit of dimension that you're having to navigate. So
yeah.
you can sometimes like miss a ball just because you're like not at the right depth that the game wants you to be at to hit a ball. Like it's already past you sometimes. Um,
I had one of those like it had one game on it, kind of like machines.
yeah,
I think it was Jaws or something, and you were like shooting torpedoes at sharks and stuff.
yeah.
Um, it is a type of, like I said, they're re-releasing these Virtual Boy games. I am very curious, to try them, but I still understand that world. I've played games like it. I'm sort of curious to know what people who have never been alive in a world where that's the gaming will respond to them. Um, So yeah, I also think it's funny that you love tennis games so much, seeing as your first game was Pong. It's
Yeah,
like it all
yeah,
tracks.
yeah. Yeah,
um, and then the other couple of things you mentioned, Mario World, which we've already covered on the show,
yes.
but that was a big blockbuster game for you. It sounds like.
That was a blockbuster game. That was, I think, a 48-hour rental. My friend Ron
Mhm.
Barry and I rented it, and I don't. Does that game have save states? I don't think it does. I think we just left it on.
Um,
Um,
it does, but only when you like complete bosses. So
yeah.
that it can you can lose a lot of data pretty easily.
So we were running right up to the like. My memory is Blockbuster at the beginning was like really strict about like the return time,
Mm.
and uh, we were racing against the time to return the system to Blockbuster to finish the game. Basically, we like stayed up for like 2 nights in a row finishing
Mm.
it. It's funny now when people like do speed runs of these games and they're like, I finished it in 7 minutes. But
I for
yeah.
this show I find there's games like Mario World which I like spent a year trying to complete as a kid. When someone asked to cover it, I like did it in a weekend.
Uh-huh.
Not even full time, just kind of like
Yeah.
and like I know some of these games so well, but just like also on autopilot, just like this is where the
Yeah.
secrets are.
We also didn't have easy access to hints at that time,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Like there's an era there where you maybe could look on gamefacts.com to look for stuff, walkthroughs, or they'd sell you a book that was a walkthrough. Imagine
Yeah.
reading a book while you played the game.
I I used to collect them, and I have a few retro ones up there, but I used to get Nintendo magazine, like the
Yeah,
UK magazine, and it would have like a number you could call to get tips on how to beat
yeah.
games.
Well,
And
like,
presumably that person was just like looking through a big folder of like
yeah. I'm sure you've covered the original Super Mario Brothers, right? But like,
we haven't.
I'm
No
fascinated.
one's
Well, whenever you do, I'm
yeah.
fascinated with how did it get out that you could go to world -1? Because for me, like I'm playing it like when it came out, and it was
Mm.
just my friends from school being like, "Holy crap, have you seen this thing? Let me come over and show you how to do this."
Yeah, a big game for me with that kind of schoolyard rumor type stuff was Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
Because the game never really tells you how to evolve certain things or where certain things are. And I got most of my information just from friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is both cool and sad that we live in a world that the day a game comes out, you can just Google how to do anything in it.
Yeah.
Um, I do find it interesting. There's like a actually Mario Kart World that just came out for the Switch 2 was a little like this. There is like a little week maybe where there's
Hmm.
still some mystery. Um, this new game came out. It had very weird ways to unlock the characters, and I would be googling and getting like multiple explanations, and that kind of made me happy because like there's still a tiny bit of mystery left in the world.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it
alas,
is nice when you like one of those Prince of Persia 3D games. I
mm,
remember walking through some fountain where you could like heal. And I remember like going up some path that I was like, wait, what is this path? Like, and it was not really somewhere where you were meant to go, but then it turned into like, oh, you could rewind time in a different way or something like that.
mm,
But then I think one thing that hurts that feeling sometimes is the that 100% completionist thing, where it's like then it's sometimes it feels bad to just at least for me sometimes I feel this feeling of like, oh yeah, I finished the game, I had like 77% complete, I guess I'll just never pursue those
mm.
things. And sometimes that can gnaw at you a little bit of like, dude.
Yeah, I've started to make like conscious decisions about which games that's gonna be for.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I've completed like an Assassin's Creed games because they have long sprawling worlds and there's so much to do and not all of it's about fun. It's just ticking boxes.
yeah,
Um, I remember thinking stuff like the Spider-Man games are quite fun to like 100% just because moving around is fun. So why not just do
right.
it until I 100% it? But um yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it all. The one final thing you suggested talking about, which I didn't pick, I was almost going to do this, which is to talk a little bit about Bob Hoskins' Mario. Um, the reason being is that I'm going to exclusively reveal to everyone watching that we're in season 2 of this podcast. Season 3 is going to be all about Mario at the movies and all the cartoons, all the stuff, because it'll be the lead up to the second Mario Brothers movie. But we haven't yet really talked about Bob Hoskins on the show, and that's a crime.
That is
So
a crime, Hamish.
take it away.
I mean, knowing things about me and you, that is an absolute crime.
Absolutely.
So obviously, Super Mario Brothers, the movie, is the best Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
So I was going to drama school at the North Carolina School of the Arts when that movie was being cast, and it was shot in Wilmington, North Carolina. And so I ended up having, there's 3 of my friends from college drama that are in that film. 2 of them are like skimpily dressed women next to Dennis Hopper, I think, at some point.
That
And then
tracks.
one of them is pushing a wheelbarrow through a construction scene near the beginning of the show. So anyway, I do have this personal connection to the movie. But obviously, for a lot of people of my ilk, Bob Hoskins is a seminal actor, not from Super Mario Brothers, but from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
When he took his shirt off, and we who were attending this film as kids were just like, "Whoa, what is it? Who is this man?" So I've always had a huge crush on Bob Hoskins. I was very sad when he passed away because it meant I'd never get to meet him or work with him as an actor. And I genuinely think he's a really terrific actor. If you go back and see a movie called The Long Good Friday, which he's incredible in, and then another one called Mona Lisa. 2 great British films. And also at one point I did like if people watch Dropout, there's a show called Smarty Pants where people do like slide presentations. And one of the ones that I did like years before Smarty Pants at a comedy show was a retrospective of all the films that Bob Hoskins has taken his shirt off in, which is massive and like disproportionately large compared to any other equivalent actor. Like,
yeah,
more than Willem Dafoe, more than Ray Winston, more than anybody else. So.
I mean, I find even like sort of bad type community, like it's a given we like him. I do think he kind of has something even for like normies, where he's got so much charm and just kind of manliness that you can't help but like enjoy. And I find the incongruous nature of him playing Super Mario like very charming.
So like one of the challenges being a Bob Hoskins fan is his movies where he does not have a British accent. And this Super Mario Brothers is one of them. Even Roger Rabbit, his accent in Roger Rabbit is like okay, which is fine. But like also this is the introduction of Bob Hoskins with a mustache, which is also very handsome and alluring.
I also
in a jumpsuit not dissimilar from the Bridge Command jumpsuits that we wore.
Yeah, that's basically what we look like. I think what's also funny is that I in the world of sort of flawless PR and everyone just being lovely on press tours, I love a good old fashioned grump. And
is he a grump?
Well, it's specifically about Mario Brothers. We'll cover it more when we do the actual movie, but he had an interview completely unrelated to the movie, and it was years later, and the interviewer was like, "Do you have any regrets? Super Mario Brothers. Are there anyone that you would never want to work with again? The directors of Super Mario Brothers." And he just like kept bringing it up as like his life's. There's also like interviews of him on the set being like, I've done Shakespeare, and then they tell me who I'm playing, and it's this little guy on the screen jumping up and down, like, fucking hell, what is my career? But we'll cover all of that in depth when we talk about the movie.
Well, I think that one where he said he did it because his kids wanted him to do it, kind of situation.
Yeah, and that's the story we often hear from celebrities doing, superheroes, kids films. I think he still thought it might have a little bit more meat story-wise than You are
Yeah.
walking from left to right on a screen.
I mean, if people haven't seen the movie, it's got a weird relationship to the actual like Mario lore.
Yeah.
There's many things in it that don't make that much sense, and also Dennis Hopper is in it being very weird. Um,
Yes. And oh, what's her name? Mm,
what is her name?
you know who I'm meaning?
Uh,
She plays Bowser's like wife or like girlfriend.
wait, Samantha Mathis or Fiona Shaw?
Fiona Shaw is who I'm trying to think of.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Wait, is Fiona Shaw like a like an RSC actor? Um,
uh,
oh, Fiona Shaw is in. She played the mother of somebody in something I really liked.
she
How's
was
that?
recently in Andor, and she's been in like
Oh,
Killing Eve.
Killing Eve is
Yeah,
where I
yeah,
love
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she's
Um,
in Mario Brothers.
yeah, and she's great in it, and she has like a really weird death. Anyway, we will talk about that next year in season 3.
Okay.
Today we are going back to the, like I said, almost start of the series. Not technically the first appearance of Mario, but the potential first appearance of his brother. We are going to talk about Mario Brothers for the arcade. Let's start by watching a little commercial for its Atari release.
It's coming up the plumbing for Luigi's in a bind. Giant turtles out to get him, creepy crabs are right behind. Fighter flies, jeepers, yikes, they're all coming out the pipes.
Mario, where are you? It's Atari Mario Brothers with Mario from Donkey Kong, his brother Luigi, and lots of crazy creatures. And it's twice the fun when two play at once, because you need all the help you can get. Mario, where are you? Mario Brothers, new from Atari.
Wow.
I've already got a lot to say. First of all, that's not Mario. That's Luigi,
Yeah.
technically. Um,
Very peculiar ad, but also another cute guy in a boiler suit and a
very
mustache. I think
cute.
that
Also,
might just
seems like he
be,
got decapitated at the end.
yeah,
Uh,
quite frightening.
also, the production values of that commercial are about what the Mario Brothers movie is.
Yeah, I mean that was a far more faithful adaptation as well, but yeah. So we are talking about Mario Brothers. I've got a little bit of it on the screen at the moment.
Now, have you played this?
I have played this many times in many versions.
Okay.
I want to know when you first played it and on what device, I suppose.
Oh, I played it in the arcade
Nice.
on the sort of squat arcade versus machines that later would be the same machine that you would play like Excitebike and Super Mario Brothers. All of the Nintendo arcade games were in the same cabinet, and I'm sure that they were just like swapping out the board or whatever. In fact, I was recently at this like giant pinball. I think it's called like the Pinball Museum Hall of Fame in Portland, Oregon, that had like 16 of these Nintendo machines next to each other. It was really great.
Yeah,
that's when I first played it.
I was about to say something which might make you feel absolutely horrified, but I first played this the arcade version in a museum. But it was a very cool kind of history of gaming display in London years ago.
Yeah.
But since then I have played it. This game is kind of famous for sort of being packaged with tons of other games. It was actually a multiplayer mode in Super Mario Brothers 3 and was included in all of the Mario Advance titles for the Game Boy Advance. But I have definitely played the original on an arcade machine, and I've also played the NES port, which I think is the most faithful port. I was interested because you mentioned earlier that you had an Atari that if you had ever had it in your house.
No, I never had this. I had the Atari 2600, which I don't know if you've ever seen like the Pac-Man version that's on the 2600. It's absolutely horrible. The legacy of that Pac-Man game is that there's a sound effect in it that goes boom, when you die, and that for some reason is a sound effect clip that gets used in so many TV and films where the kid is playing a console.
Yeah.
And they're going like this with the everyone on film whenever they play a video game, they're always like
yeah. There's like There's an infamous clip I always talk about with my boyfriend from Charlie's Angels, where two kids are like playing Final Fantasy VII, which is a one-player game, and they're both holding controllers, going like "whoa," and it's
Yeah.
like it's a single-player like turn-based RPG. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think because of the reality of somebody just going.
It
It's
can't
like,
it can't not look sad.
yeah.
It's like, cut to a guy on his own on a couch playing games, and the implication is, wow, what a loser, even if he's having the time of his life.
Yeah. I have a question for you about the aesthetic of this original game, since you
Yeah.
are an artist. Is can you articulate why I find and this is probably like some emulated cut version or whatever,
Yeah.
but I find something about the it's almost like the space within the pixel between the pixels or something. Something about the nature of the way it's pixelated I find really appealing. And I don't know if I mean some of it's obviously just nostalgia, but there's a lot of times in these older games I find their pixelation of them to be more pleasing than even like a couple generations later.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I really do think helped Nintendo in this arcade era. So before this game, we'd had Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong 3 was released this year as well, but I couldn't see which one came out first or whatever. Is that even at this time, I mean, look, Pac-Man is cute. The ghosts, especially, they have his little eyes, but it's very rudimentary. And I think with this, they just go the extra step to we're just looking at these crabs at the moment of using your pixels not just to say it's a crab, but it's a crab that's angry or it has a
Yeah.
personality. And even this Mario sprite has evolved since the one from Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of famous story about Mario has a mustache because the sprite made him look like he did. He wore overalls because it made the arm have a different color, and so it was all about readability in Donkey Kong. And in this, it does feel like now it's about character.
Yeah.
um the crab, the fly, and the turtle, they aren't just colored shapes, they're
Yeah.
like, we have enemies that move the way these animals might move, and it's readability but with so much style.
Yeah.
I also really love these games aesthetically from, like, in every remake of this game, they always put sort of fancy backgrounds.
Yeah.
I was playing one of the future titles. I can actually put it on the screen as well. This is, let me see if it's going to do it. Ah!
I also just realized that this reminds me. I should have made this connection before, but it obviously reminds me of a video game from back in the day called Joust, which is absolutely wonderful.
So this is one
Ooh.
of the remakes, and it's very busy.
Yeah.
Again, this is blown up. This is meant for a Game Boy Advance screen. And as we go through, there's different sort of although this is very freezy for some reason.
So this is Game Boy Advance, you said?
Yeah.
Would it have vertically scrolled like this on the machine?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
No.
I love the original where it's like all on the screen. You can see everything.
Yeah, and this is from an era when games were split up into screens rather than like levels. But I just look at this, it's just everything is perfect. Everything has been thought through. And I think the black, it was standard of arcade games at the time. This is just what arcade games look like, but it's so clear. And definitely in the Game Boy Advance version, I made mistakes just because of how like busy it was.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about these.
So even in this early stage, there's little bonus stages. This is frozen elements. There's still so much being communicated, and look how nice the coins are spinning. Like, there's a lot going on.
Oh wait, is this the introduction of coins?
So yeah, this game actually introduced many things to the Mario universe. Coins, power blocks, pipes, turtles, even if they're not called Koopas yet. They're called shell creepers. But most significantly, it actually introduced Luigi. So
Uh-huh.
a different game called Mario Brothers came out for the Game and Watch first, I think just a few months earlier, but this game was in development first. This is what Luigi was designed for. I'm curious if you were growing up a Mario or a Luigi in terms of who are you forced to play as?
Oh, I'm always Mario because he's hotter, but also because I'm a narcissist. So like I'm always going to be player one.
Nice.
Um, and although if they had stuck with the way that Luigi looked in the TV commercial, maybe I would have been a crush on that Luigi. Also,
Well,
I have these like overalls I've been wearing to like board game conventions, and because they're purple, I keep like literally people see me at the convention and go like, "Hey, it's." Actually, they say, "Hey, it's Waluigi."
mm.
But so lately, I've been identified more as Luigi. I'm also on, uh, you know, Manjaro, which is heading me more towards Luigi territory.
Well, at this era, he truly was a palette swap. Like, if you look at
Yes.
all the artwork,
Is he green?
he's green, but
Yeah.
he's, shape wise, exactly the same. Even his mustache is the same. They actually have quite pleasing color palettes in the art for this game. They're not quite the red and green that we know, and Luigi's kind of green and brown rather than green and blue. But yeah, so this was where Luigi comes from, and it's funny, we just did Luigi's Mansion, and it's funny that just in order for there to be a second player, Mario just has a brother now,
Yeah.
and it led to him having his own spin-off series and being probably the more developed of the two in terms of like personality.
Uh-huh.
Um,
He's like the Donald Duck to the Mickey Mouse kind of like Mickey Mouse is
mm,
like the generic representation, but like
exactly.
he's not like a character people like
Um,
want to
yeah.
be.
So I kind of want to talk a bit about the gameplay because I find something very satisfying about the movement,
Yeah.
the loop that you do. Um, let's speak on it. What do you like about it?
Um this was an interesting like the jump vertical time was longer than other games I remember at the time. I used to play a game called Jumpman, ironically, on the Commodore 64 that had a pretty like even Donkey Kong has a
Hmm.
pretty ungenerous jump margin of error. You know, if you're jumping over one of those barrels or whatever, you can easily like get it wrong. And then I also played a game called Pitfall on the Atari 2600,
Hmm.
which has a diabolical when you go down to the lower levels, you're trying to jump over these little white scorpions, and it's like a 2 pixel margin of error. This game, you kind of like float when you're hitting the roof or the floor above you. You kind of like stick there for a little bit, and it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of like how much time you have to like get the exact right jump. Also, coming with that is that it can feel a little out of control sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very floaty and slippy, but it feels intentional
Yeah,
because
oh, absolutely.
so much about the game is making calculations of like how long an enemy like can you reach an enemy in time to jump from it, jump below it.
Yes.
Can you then get to the enemy in time to kill it for good? And there's so many like my reasons for dying when playing it earlier today was never that I like, well, not never, but it was rarely because I was being overwhelmed by enemies. It was more because I miscalculated something.
Uh-huh. Now, if you were dying because you were overwhelmed by ennui, that would be I would like that as well.
What?
Just because you just said enemies.
Oh, no, my God.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that there's a lot, and there's also some calculated risks that you take sometimes because you're like, okay, I could let this enemy fall to the next level, but why? Like, let me try to take care of it now. And
Hmm.
sometimes you also it's very specific about which side you hit the enemy on, about which way it's going to bounce. So
Yes.
sometimes you take that calculated risk because you want to take care of it early, but you jump on the wrong side and it gets sent in a direction that's going to be very difficult for you to get up there to knock them out.
That little bit of physics of like hitting enemies in different directions, and you can actually do it to Mario and Luigi too,
yeah.
um, is so interesting because I bet it wasn't in the very first like demos or whatever, or when they were testing the game, and it's that little bit of extra advanced skill that I think, especially when I was playing it as a kid, I had older brothers who were always much better at games than me. I bet they knew what they were doing way more than I was doing, and I was just
Yeah.
like, "You hit it," but
Yeah,
yeah,
because there is a version of there's a lot of games in this era, I think, where there is a there's a way to play the level that's like, this is super efficient. I'm on that second from the top level. I'm hitting things so that they fall to me so that I can knock them out without having to go
yeah,
up there. And there's often a like, man, if I can just navigate the first 90 seconds of this level efficiently, this level is going to be so much easier. If I happen to hit one the wrong way and they stand up again, sometimes they get like double angry and move faster. Um,
mm,
it's going to just make your life so much harder. And I feel like there's a lot of games from this era, like even Super Mario Brothers, where it's like there's a really easy way to do level one that there's a lot of levels in Super Mario Brothers where you don't even have to stop. Like you can just without speed running or anything. You could just like efficiently run through the level. And then if you get your rhythm off or you happen to misclick or something, then you're like, oh, now I'm in a world of pain because like I've either died and I have to start halfway and I won't be able to grab that one mushroom. And this way feels that too. There's a smooth way to start almost every level, and then eventually chaos starts to ensue. Ooh, that was
mm.
a double. Whoever, by the way, whoever is playing this run is quite good.
I'll link the player in the show notes for sure. It's kind of a shame that I feel Donkey Kong, the game, gets a lot of the love and attention because it is the first game to feature
Yeah.
Mario, when this is so significantly better and more fun in every way.
Yeah, I actually don't love Donkey Kong that much. I
No.
find it kind of punishing and boring at the same time, which is not a great combo for a video game.
Mm. Yeah.
I like Donkey Kong. Is it Junior? I like the one where you're climbing the ropes together. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this is all still part of the same series. They're figuring out what this series is going to become, which sort of culminates in Super Mario Brothers for the NES. But there is another game that is part of this story that you wanted to bring up,
Yes.
and that is Popeye.
I love Popeye.
So I have never played this.
Uh-huh.
For those who don't know, there's a sort of story that originally Nintendo wanted to make a Popeye game. They couldn't get the rights. They turned Popeye into Mario, Bluto into Donkey Kong, and Olive Oil into Pauline or the lady, and made Donkey Kong. When that was a big hit, they were able to get the Popeye rights.
Yep.
So it's kind of like an odd Star Wars Flash Gordon situation where like it exists because they couldn't get it and they made something even bigger maybe. But just tell me about Popeye, because I always knew this factoid, but I'd never really met someone who played the game or talked to anyone about
Oh,
it.
so I love this game, and I did play this in the arcade. Also, this punching that Popeye is doing reminds me of another game called Kangaroo in the arcade
Mm,
games, which is such a weird game where you punched as a kangaroo. But I for some reason I really liked Popeye back in the day. It's not a property that has like gotten much love over the years, but
mm,
I found this game to be very compelling. It's not at all the same thing. Like you're not jumping. I don't think you can jump at all in this game, which actually is quite frustrating. but
yeah.
you can punch these things instead, so that these bottles don't hit you. I mean, it's also like very difficult, and you're trying to collect these hearts from Olive Oil, and once you get enough hearts, you basically win her love, and you go to the next level. I think that character is called like the Sea Hag or something like that. The one
Yeah,
that's throwing the
they're very significant in this, but I've
yeah.
never
Um,
seen them.
so this game, first of all, you got a little isometric 3D as he goes up the
Yeah.
stairs there. Um, Also, of course, Bluto, another hot character, hot bear
Hmm.
from video game history. I remember that this game. Oh my God, I love when Bluto like tries to reach down and grab you. Like, um, uh, I remember that this had a combination of fun but also hard because the like in this level she's I guess she's playing a harp or something, a lyre,
Yeah.
and they don't drop in easily caught ways, and sometimes Popeye just isn't tall enough to grab the thing, and you have to kind of like wait, and that can be kind of frustrating sometimes.
Mm,
But look at that. I mean, like we're introducing a lot of different ideas here, like this jumping level and stuff. But anyway, I just
yeah.
thought it was a very good combination of like difficult and interesting. Um, yeah, this is not the way you play this character. I think it ultimately was sort of frustrating to move around because he couldn't jump over that little gap, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
annoying. That's not really what you want to do in video games. He's got a little
Yeah.
power up there if he grabs the spinach, and then Bluto runs because he's scared. But I think because of that mode of moving him around, obviously the Mario way ends up being like the thing that's really popular for platformers. But for this game, I think it really worked well. It definitely works on my nostalgia because it's not a game that many people have heard about. This is
Mm.
similar. There's another game similar to this, which is Pac Land. Which is
I'm aware of it through Super Smash Brothers, but I must have played it somewhere at some kind of arcade or something. Or
so if you ever get a chance to play like an emulated version of Pac Land, it is so clearly the like either Super Mario Brothers reacted to that or Pac-Land reacted to Super Mario Brothers,
Mm.
because Pac-Land also had a thing where at one point there was a cactus. If you jump over the cactus, and I don't know where I learned this because it wasn't through a book or the internet. If you push the cactus backwards, it opens up a door and you go to a secret level. So anyway, it has Super Mario Brothers type things. But anyway, this Papa game I love. It's really fun. I love
Mm.
Bluto. I want Bluto to reach down and pick me up.
It is interesting. I think I was thinking about this about the Smurfs recently, which recently had a movie. But like I think even our childhoods, a lot of these characters were like seeing their way out. And it, you kind of want things this classic to last forever. But the concept of making a Popeye game as a priority in the 80s is quite fascinating to me. And even now, it's like I can't really imagine any Popeye thing ever
No,
coming out now, which is sad.
it would have to be re like invigorated in some way. It would have to be like some niche thing starts a Popeye thing, and then it would take like 6 stages before it got
Mm,
up to the level of like another Popeye movie. Also, you can watch the Popeye movie from I think the 80s, directed by Robert Altman of all people. That
mm.
is an absolutely kind of like horrible musical. Um,
Oh, he loves me, he loves
uh,
me, he loves me, he
yeah,
loves me.
the perfect rendition. That song became famous in Punch Drunk Love by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Well,
Uh,
actually, this completely explains it. I completely forgot about the movie. Of course, Nintendo would want to make a tie-in game at the time. It was the ET of its year, I suppose.
yeah, that I mean it was a Robin Williams flop, and also, unfortunately, a somewhat hot Bluto, who I think is also one of the villains in Superman. He's a villain in I think the David Lynch Dune, but I think
Yes.
he might be the Baron's nephew in that Dune, but he is not an English speaking actor, so all of his lines are dubbed in the Popeye movie.
It's three very odd performances as your leads,
Yes.
which it's I don't really know if they could have made like a better film, but it is a real explanation on maybe don't make a live action Popeye film. But Shelley Duvall's very well cast. Like
Yeah. Oh, she's actually
who
very
else
well
is gonna
cast in it.
be
Yeah.
Oliver? So this is about wrapping us up for Mario Bros. It's a wonderful game. It is an arcade game. There's not endless stories and levels to discuss.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed this conversation because I think there's actually a magic in these games. I actually spent a lot of my childhood playing the Game and Watch games, just things
Uh-huh.
which was all about high scores. Um, I do believe a couple of versions of this are available on the Switch online services. That's how I played it. But I'm definitely going to track down an arcade cabinet at some point.
Ooh. I
Um,
wonder if, like, you know how we were saying at least I don't know if you are, but we sort of are moving away a little bit from like AAA games.
Mm,
I wonder if that's more just that like when we started relating to video games, we were relating more towards the vision of like 1 to 3 people at most, um, where even through the history of like like Zelda and stuff, it still has this feeling of like it's, one person's vision. And like I love the Metal Gear games, which is like Kojima.
mm.
And then as we get towards, Battlefield gets released, it's like who's the auteur behind Battlefield? Like I don't know who that is, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's why I love indie games so much.
Yeah.
And I love those kinds of stories. And there's great AAA games. I'm not saying there aren't, but I feel far more like connection and ownership over games that there's a sort of interesting story behind its development.
Yeah.
Um, the kind of final question I wanted to ask about Mario Bros is, um, I know you haven't kept up with like everything with Mario, but I do think it's interesting how different this is from what the series kind of eventually became. And I wanted to know if you felt this game's legacy in any kind of future titles. And if you
Ooh.
wanted to, if you could imagine what a kind of maybe new version of this game could be.
Huh. Interesting. I like because I think the main mechanism of this is like you're never hopping on any enemies.
Yeah.
This is always a sort of indirect way to deal with them. And so I wonder if I bet I've seen this legacy in other indie games, like
Mm,
the way even like that UFO 50, right? Um, a lot of indie games these days are like that Downwell game where it's like the thing about this game is you relate to the environment differently than you have before. And um, like I always feel like there's creativity available in these yeah, we've got a long history of you grab a weapon and you slice your enemies and Mario obviously has a long history of like you hop on them once and they neutralize and then you can kick them and slide or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people's explorations are like, yeah, that's not all we can do. There's lots of other ways that we can, you know,
mm.
deal with the environment. And so maybe this is one of the ones because it didn't become the dominant mode that Mario handles video games. Um, this almost is like I feel like I could go through like indie games for the last 10 years and be like, oh yeah, this is the game where you did this,
Yeah, I'd love to see, there's a lot of indie games where it's this game, but we've decided to remake it and make a sequel and take it to the extreme. And there's certain elements of this game that feel a little bit like tower defense or bullet hell or
yeah,
those kinds of things where you're being overwhelmed by enemies. And nowadays, Mario games, that rarely happens. There's like a few Goombas.
yeah.
I kind of like the idea of what would a game like this be in 2025, where it
Uh,
was just all about hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies.
well, I do like single screen couch co-op games as well.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the name of it, but there's a game I played in the last 5 years that was basically like B Alien B Wars or something. That
Mm.
was a single screen thing, and it was up to like 8 players and platforms. I'm sure somebody can remember this, but basically you could go and do different jobs. So as your character, you could like go to a corner and like plant eggs, or you could go to try to kill the eggs of the other hive. And like it was chaotic and it was all happening at
Mm.
once. And that actually, like, I would love to see more. I love couch co-op games, so like I'm always down for those. And like I like Overcooked and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But um, but a game like this, like honestly, there's also like Nidhogg, which is like a fighting game. But you could have I wouldn't mind something that had this aesthetic in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of how clean it is. With we could have some more different kinds of power ups and stuff like that. Might be kind of
Hmm.
fun to
Yeah.
sort of make it more chaotic.
I mean, yeah, this game has the fireballs, but it's
Yeah,
the next kind of game where Mario gets the fire flower. And I think this game would be really fun with the like invincibility star where you're just like running through all the enemies. So
Yeah. Also this might be a fun many versus one.
Yeah.
You could be Donkey Kong trying to achieve some things, like if I move enough barrels from here to here, and then like 5 other people trying to impede you. That might be fun.
Yeah, I think this is something Nintendo should revisit some way, somehow, without it just being a little mini game on the side. Oh, can you hear any? Whoa, whoa, loud. Hello.
Hello.
Look, this is an independent operation here. It's not that professional. We are at the question block where I'm going to do some quick fire questions to round out the show.
Wait, did you do that syncing up to the visual of the?
Yeah.
Hey, that's
There's the
great.
question block. Blue, blue, blue. Okay, so are you ready for some quick fire
Yes.
questions? Okay, who is your main in Mario Kart or the other spin-offs?
This is very basic, but I always pick Toad.
Oh, that's fine. That's all good. I was at Comic-Con recently and I saw a Toadette doing a performance of Pink Pony Club on a stage in full like Pink Pony Club. It was wonderful. If you were an enemy in this game, a hypothetical new enemy, what animal would you be and how would you move about?
Ooh, what about a spider that can go under the platforms and drop down?
That's smart because it takes away Mario's one skill, which is punching up.
Yep.
He likes to punch up.
Yeah, I know. That's the great thing about Mario's comedy.
Yeah. So at this point in the series, Mario was a carpenter in Donkey Kong. He worked at a bottling plant in the Mario Brothers Game & Watch game. And in this game, presumably, he's finally a plumber. But what other jobs do you want to see him do?
I think he could be like a civil engineer because of his various skills. But I wouldn't mind seeing Mario's OnlyFans page.
Wow. Nintendo, get on it if you want to expand the user base of the
You know
Switch.
what's crazy? If they made a virtual OnlyFans for Mario, it would do well.
I know. I mean, it would create headlines for sure, but they'd make money.
Yeah. It'd be so off-brand for Nintendo.
Do you know what is on brand for Nintendo is that they would make a Mario OnlyFans, but it would be like OnlyFans is not a porn website; it's just a website. Yeah. So they would just very innocently be like, "We've joined OnlyFans,
right?
Join to see pictures of Mario," and everyone would be very disappointed.
But people would still subscribe.
And finally, smash, marry, kill, shell creeper, sidestepper, or fighter fly.
What was it? Smash what?
It's kill. It's fuck, marry, kill.
I know. Okay.
I try. We're a grown-up podcast, but I still feel.
Okay. I think I would marry Shell Creeper because he has a house.
He's a homeowner.
He's a homeowner. I would kill Sidestepper because I don't really want to hook up with those claws. And then I think actually the fuck one is perfect for the Firefly?
He's called Fighter Fly, but yeah,
Fly.
the
because so you can't marry this fly because he's not around he's not very grounded.
No.
Yeah,
and he shows up.
His
shows up late.
His pattern for being present in your life is very much like the friend who just visits from out of town. You see them briefly and then they leave again. By the way, I'll be in London in January.
Noted. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and telling me all about your love for Bob Hoskins, flies, and the like. Please take this opportunity to once again plug anything you like.
Well, I'll be in London in January. I'm going up somewhere into the country to be part of a thing called Christmas on the Clock Tower, which is a retreat for Blood on the Clock Tower fans. And then I will be in Wisconsin, February 28th. And then I will be in Houston, Texas. Oh, I'm also in Houston, Texas, doing stand-up comedy January 18th at Plano. And then I'll be in Austin. I'll be at a board game convention called Final 3Con in DC. And then I will be in New York City from May and June doing Sardines. That's my big thing for next year.
Incredible. And also your YouTube channel, I think, will be, an interest to many of our viewers.
Yeah, so I have 2 YouTube channels that I work on. One is called Noobs on the Goof Tower. That is a Blood on the Clock Tower only streaming site where we stream games once a week. And then a spin-off of that, because I ended up getting hyper fixated on board games, which is Noobs at the Game Table. That's a little fledgling. You know, get me to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize it. But I'm putting up things pretty much every week about games I'm playing. I just did a review of the games I played in October, and I played board games, according to my little app, I played board games for 100 hours in October.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
I mean,
yeah.
I've definitely played some Mario games. I mean, doing this podcast, I have to play a lot of Mario games, and that's basically all my gaming now. And it's incredible that you've matched that with board games where you can't take them everywhere. And wow, incredible. As I said at the start, do definitely look up Sardines or any of Chris's shows that are coming up. It's really worth your time. I also think Dropout's worth your subscription, and watch some Superstore and go buy a board game and play Mario Brothers. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's always great to see you.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime. We'll do a proper Bob Hoskins deep dive one day.
Oh.
Maybe the show will just become a Bob Hoskins retrospective. Super Mario Moment is a proud member of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcasting Collective. There are plenty of other shows. If you loved our conversation about the origins of gaming, I have to recommend, once again, Lee Carvalho's Podding Challenge, the Simpsons video game podcast, which goes into the history of video games in general. There's also Novel Gaming, which is another gaming podcast, and there's podcasts on this network about all manner of geeky stuff, Star Wars and gimmicky episodes of TV and all Spider-Man and all kinds. We will be back next week with a very peculiar episode about a mod, a fan game. We are going into the depths of unofficial Nintendo next week, which is going to be very exciting. And until next time, subscribe, like, find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, wherever, and it only takes for me to say, so long, gay Bowsers.